The forest sky glowed the color of molten copper. Smoke churned in thick plumes, smothering the stars above. The predator then burned, fire clawing up the trees and swallowing the undergrowth in snapping waves. Creatures of the wild fled in frenzied silence, but one figure moved toward the flames, not away from them. It was a human. Lieutenant Cara Bay, 29 years old, reconnaissance officer for the United Colonies, carried no weapon drawn. Her rifle hung at her side, its heat sensors spiking uselessly against the inferno. Her face was streaked with soot, eyes sharp against the chaos. She wasn't here for combat. She was here because she'd heard the cries. Not human cries. They were high-pitched, warbling. Young predator calls. The kind most species ignored. Predators were considered untamable, unpredictable, dangerous even as infants. To intervene was suicide. But Kara's boots crunched into the ashen soil without hesitation. The mission briefing had been simple. Survey this sector, map the ecosystem, stay alive. Her unit was camped 2 kilometers back. They told her the fire wasn't her problem. But Kara had felt something claw at her gut when those cries broke through the comm static. She didn't ask permission. She didn't need it. Inside the burning den, the heat was suffocating. She ducked low under a fallen log, sparks spraying her jacket. Her visor fogged as the temperature spiked. She swept her beam light into the cavern hollow, then froze. 5 tiny shapes huddled together, their eyes reflecting like embers in the dark. Cubs. Thick-furred, clawed, spines not yet hardened, but already formidable by appearance. The infamous Dravari predators. A fully grown one could shred armored soldiers in seconds. These were their offspring. One whimpered, another hissed. None fled. Their instincts held them tight. Kara's throat tightened. Every lesson screamed at her to walk away. Let nature take its course, they told her at Academy. Predators don't need saving, and if you try, you'll regret it. But humans rarely did what the galaxy expected. She stepped inside, boots splashing into water that hissed into steam on the den floor. The cubs recoiled, snapping their small jaws. Easy, Kara whispered, her voice steady but low, pitched more like she was speaking to frightened children than to alien beasts. She crouched, unhooking her field pack. From it, she pulled a thermal wrap, spreading it across her arms. The fire roared closer, heat slamming against her back. One cub growled, the sound tiny but full of defiance. Kara almost smiled. Brave little thing, aren't you? She reached forward, slow and deliberate. The smallest cub, trembling at the rear, pressed against the others. Kara slid her hand beneath it, lifting gently. Its fur burned hot from the ambient heat, but the body was fragile, lighter than expected. It didn't bite. It just trembled, letting out a sound closer to a gasp than a growl. Got you, Kara murmured. Another cub lunged, its teeth clamped down on her sleeve, tearing fabric. Pain seared her arm. She didn't pull away. Instead, she held the first cub closer and extended her other arm. Come on then, you'll all burn if you stay. The cub's grip loosened, its ears flattened. Slowly, hesitantly, it crawled into her hold. The den ceiling cracked, sending embers raining down. Kara worked fast. One by one, she scooped the cubs against her chest, wrapping them in the thermal sheet. They squirmed, claws scraping her armor, but instinct to cling outweighed fear. By the time she secured the 5th cub, her lungs screamed for clean air. All right, little monsters, she rasped, hoisting them close. Let's get you out. She turned, moving low and fast. Fire licked the tunnel entrance, choking smoke funneling through. Visibility shrank to meters. The cubs whimpered against her chest. A sudden crash shook the ground. Part of the den collapsed, sealing the way she came. Flames surged higher, forcing Kara to take the longer passage upward. Her comm crackled. Kara, where the hell are you? A voice barked. Sergeant Dren, her unit lead. Busy, she coughed, ducking as another beam collapsed. You went into the fire, didn't you? His voice twisted with disbelief. For predators? 5 cubs, Kara replied, hauling herself over rock and ash. I'm not leaving them. Predators will kill you the second they grow. Drop them and get out. Kara's jaw tightened. They're alive. That's reason enough. She killed the channel before Dren could argue further. The exit loomed ahead, jagged with broken stone. Flames funneled toward it like a living barrier. Kara adjusted her hold, shielding the cubs with her body, and sprinted. Heat scorched her lungs. The edge of her jacket ignited, and she smothered it with one arm while clutching the cubs tighter with the other. She broke through the wall of fire. For a second, it was blinding, orange and gold and choking black smoke. Then, the night air hit her face like cold water. She stumbled into the clearing, coughing hard, soot streaking her face. Her chest burned. But she was alive, and so were the cubs. They clung to her chest, their bodies shivering, their eyes wide with something that looked more like shock than fury. Kara fell to her knees, setting them down on the grass, unwrapping the thermal sheet carefully. One by one, they blinked at her, their sharp little eyes reflecting the fire behind. Behind her, the den collapsed entirely, flames consuming it whole. Kara! Sergeant Dren's voice thundered through the clearing. He emerged with 2 soldiers, both wide-eyed at the sight. His gaze locked on the cubs, then back at her. What did you do? Kara pushed her soot-streaked hair from her face and looked him straight in the eye. I saved them. Dren's jaw worked, words failing. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. No one in the galaxy, no human, no alien, would have carried predator cubs from a burning den. It was madness. It was reckless. It was human. The cubs whimpered again, pressing closer to Kara's boots rather than running back toward the inferno. She rested her hand near them, but didn't touch. Her breath came ragged, but her voice was calm. They don't understand what just happened, she said quietly. But they will. And so will anyone who thinks we walk away when life's on the line. The forest burned behind them, lighting the horizon like a second dawn. And in the glow of it, a human knelt in ash with 5 predator cubs huddled at her side. An image no one present would forget. The next morning, the flames were nothing but blackened skeletons of trees. Ash clung to the air like a morning veil. Lieutenant Karabey sat on the edge of the field camp, washing blood from her sleeve where a cub had bitten her. The cubs hadn't left. They huddled inside a makeshift enclosure fashioned from ration crates and thermal netting. 5 sets of sharp eyes tracked every movement, mistrustful, alert. Yet when Kara approached, their growls faded to quiet whimpers. They didn't trust her, not fully, but they hadn't fled. Her unit didn't share that patience. You've lost your mind, Sergeant Dren spat, pacing outside the enclosure. His voice carried through the camp, sharp and cutting. You risked your life for those? Do you even know what you dragged back? Those things will grow up to kill entire platoons. Kara kept her tone level. They would have burned alive. I wasn't about to let that happen. You weren't supposed to play savior, Dren shot back. You were supposed to survey. Now we've got 5 ticking time bombs eating into our rations and making us a target for every predator pack in range. Other soldiers murmured agreement. A few looked at the cubs like they were looking at grenades with pulled pins. Kara stood, meeting Dren's glare. If saving lives makes me reckless, so be it. We've done worse things in this war than share food with hungry mouths. This isn't war, Lieutenant, Dren growled. This is biology. Predators don't understand gratitude. They understand hunger. The second they're strong enough, they'll tear you apart. The cubs made a sound then, high-pitched, almost like laughter. Kara turned back, caught off guard. One of the smallest had batted the side of the crate with a paw, toppling it over. The others followed, clumsy but determined, trying to climb free. The soldiers drew their rifles instantly. Stand down, Kara barked. Sina. He threw herself between the rifles and the cubs, hands raised. The soldiers hesitated, eyes darting to Dren for orders. Dren's jaw tightened. His finger hovered near his weapon's safety. The cubs froze too, sensing the tension. They pressed back together, tiny spines raised. Kara's voice cut through, steady but hard. "Point those rifles at me, Sergeant, if you want. But if you fire on them, you'll have to go through me first." A beat of silence. The forest whispered with wind and cinders. Finally, Dren cursed under his breath and lowered his rifle. The others followed reluctantly. "You're gambling with our lives, Vey," he muttered. "And when Command hears about this, it won't just be me tearing into you." Command heard about it sooner than expected. By evening, the camp comms lit up with a secure transmission. The holoprojector flickered, forming the image of Admiral Sael of the Galactic Council. Not human. Sael's avian form shimmered, feathers sharp like blades. His eyes burned with cold authority. "Explain to me, Lieutenant Vey," the Admiral said, voice slicing through static. "Why my reports show you carrying predator cubs from a den fire like they were children?" Kara stood at attention, chin lifted. "Because they were children, sir. They may not be human, but they were alive and helpless." Sael's feathers bristled. "You endangered your squad for Dravari spawn. Do you comprehend the insult? The Dravari slaughtered 3 colonies last cycle. Those cubs you coddle will grow into the same monsters that tore civilians limb from limb." Kara's fists clenched, but her voice remained even. "Every species has young that start vulnerable. Even ours. I didn't see monsters. I saw lives worth saving." "Your sentimentality blinds you," Sael hissed. "This is not compassion. It is contamination. Release those cubs into the wild and let the fire finish what nature intended. Or we will take action ourselves." The threat hung heavy. Around Kara, soldiers shifted uneasily. Dren's eyes flicked toward her, silently urging compliance. But Kara stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, humans don't walk away from those who need us. Not children. Not even enemy children. If that offends the Council, then maybe the Council needs to rethink what it calls civilization." Gasps rippled through the squad. Talking back to the Council was unthinkable, but Kara didn't flinch. Sael's image leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "You risk igniting more than fire, Lieutenant. You risk igniting war. Remember your place." The holo snapped out, leaving only the crackle of the projector cooling. Dren rounded on Kara instantly. "Do you want us court-martialed? Do you want us hunted by the entire Council?" Kara ignored him, crouching by the cubs. They had huddled tight during the exchange, trembling at the raised voices. She reached a hand through the netting. One sniffed, then nudged her palm with its nose, a tentative gesture of trust. Her voice was soft, almost to herself. "If we're feared for saving lives, then maybe that's exactly what humanity should be known for." Night fell uneasy. The camp stood on edge, soldiers whispering, waiting for orders that hadn't come. The forest smoldered in the distance, red scars glowing through the dark. Kara sat awake, the cubs nestled against the thermal wrap she'd laid down. Their small breaths came steady now, like a rhythm of survival. Her wristcom buzzed quietly. A private channel. "Kara!" It was Dren again, but this time his voice wasn't anger. It was fatigue. "You know the Council won't let this slide. They'll brand you reckless, maybe even traitor. And if they do, they'll brand all of us by extension." She stared at the cubs before replying. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll see something different. Maybe they'll see what it means to be human." Silence. Then Dren exhaled heavily. "You're insane." "Probably," Kara said. "But if being sane means letting lives burn, I don't want it." Dren didn't respond. The channel clicked off. Kara leaned back against her pack, eyes drifting skyward. Above the smoke, faint stars returned to view. The cubs pressed against her boots again, seeking warmth. She didn't move them away. Tomorrow would bring Council orders, accusations, maybe worse. But for now, in this fragile night, humanity's choice had already been made. They had not walked away. Dawn broke pale and cold over the ash-smeared forest. Kara was already awake, crouched by the cub enclosure, feeding them strips of dried ration meat. The cubs tore into the food with needle teeth, growling at one another, but never at her. She studied them closely. How the smallest always waited until the others ate first. How the boldest bared teeth when a soldier passed too near. They weren't monsters. They were just young, wild, and afraid. Boots crunched behind her. She didn't have to look up to know it was Sergeant Dren. "You're making a mistake," he said flatly. Kara smirked. "Good morning to you too. I'm serious." Dren crouched beside her, his face shadowed by exhaustion. "The Council's not bluffing. They'll see this as defiance. They'll make an example of you. Maybe of all of us." Kara tore another ration strip and dropped it into the cub's eager paws. "Then they'll see us as we are. We save what we can." "That's not strategy," Dren muttered. "That's suicide." Before Kara could answer, a sharp alarm cut through the camp. Motion sensors. Soldiers scrambled, weapons raised, eyes scanning the tree line. Kara snatched her rifle and rose. "Contact!" she shouted. Private Lian pointed toward the ridge. "Movement! Fast! Multiple signatures!" The forest erupted. 3 full-grown Dravari predators burst through the ash smoke, their massive forms rippling with muscle and spines. Their jaws dripped with saliva, eyes locked on the camp. The soldiers opened fire, pulse rifles lighting up the clearing. The Dravari were fast. One leapt into a gunner, tossing him aside like a ragdoll. Another crashed through a barrier, scattering debris. Kara's gut clenched. The cubs shrieked in terror inside the enclosure. Their parents had come. "Kara!" Dren shouted, firing in bursts. "Get away from the cubs!" But Kara didn't move away. She moved closer. She planted herself bete, weaned the charging predators, and the enclosure, rifle leveled. One of the adults froze mid-charge. Its eyes locked on her, then shifted to the cubs. Recognition flared. A sound ripped from its throat. Not a roar, but a guttural call. The cubs answered, pressing against the netting, wailing back in unison. The soldiers didn't care. They fired again, rounds sparking against the predator's armored hide. The beast roared and turned, slamming into the squad. Chaos erupted. Kara didn't fire. Her instincts screamed to pull the trigger, but something else stopped her. The cubs weren't afraid of her anymore. They were afraid of losing her. Their cries tore at her chest. She dropped her rifle. "Kara, what the hell are you doing?" Dren's voice was drowned in the firefight. Slowly, Kara tore open the enclosure netting. The cubs bolted out, rushing toward the towering predators. Soldiers shouted in panic, but the adults froze again. This time, not with rage, but recognition. The largest Dravari lowered its head. The cubs clambered onto its back, yipping frantically. The others pressed close to their parents' legs. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then one of the soldiers panicked. A shot cracked the air. The round grazed the flank of the largest predator. The roar that followed shook the trees. The Dravari lunged forward, not at Kara, not at the cubs, but at the soldiers. She threw herself between them, arms wide. "Stop!" she screamed, voice raw. "They're protecting their young!" Her words cut through the frenzy like a blade. For a heartbeat, even the predators hesitated, heads tilted as if parsing her tone. Kara locked eyes with the nearest beast. Its gaze was primal, alien, unyielding. But there was something there. Awareness. It had seen her carry its young through fire. Slowly, carefully, the predator stepped back. It barked a guttural order to the others, who growled but obeyed. Together, they herded the cubs toward the tree line. Kara didn't breathe until the last shadow melted into the forest. The clearing stank of smoke and blood. 3 soldiers lay wounded, 1 unconscious. The squad was shaken, stunned silent. Dren stormed toward her, face pale with fury. "Do you realize what you just did? You let them go! You let predators go after they tore through our squad. They didn't attack until we fired first, Kara snapped back. They came for their cubs. Any parent would have. Dren's nostrils flared. He wanted to argue, to shout, but the words didn't come. Because he'd seen it too. Private Lian broke the silence. Sergeant. Sir? She's right. They didn't rip into her. They didn't even touch her. They could have killed her. And they didn't. The squad shifted uneasily. Doubt flickered in their eyes. Kara's chest heaved, adrenaline still coursing. She knelt where the cubs had been, her hands trembling as she touched the torn thermal wrap they'd left behind. They trusted me, she whispered. Even when everything said they shouldn't, and their parents saw it too. Dren rubbed his temples, muttering. The council is going to bury us for this. You don't realize what kind of signal you've just sent. Kara stood, fire rekindling in her eyes. Maybe it's the signal they need to see, that we don't bow to fear, that even predators can understand when humans stand for something. That night, the camp was silent. Soldiers tended wounds, repaired barricades, avoided conversation. But whispers spread about how Kara had stood unarmed between predators and men, about how the beasts had walked away without finishing the kill. Word would reach the council. Word would spread to other colonies, and already Kara could feel the tide shifting. She stared into the embers of the campfire, her jaw set. The cubs were gone, yes, but the choice remained. And choices, she knew, were far more dangerous than teeth. The transmission came at dusk, carried across secure channels like a blade wrapped in velvet. Kara stood at the center of camp as Admiral Sile's hologram flickered into being again. His feathers gleamed like knives, his expression unreadable. But when he spoke, his words carried the weight of judgment. Lieutenant Karabey, Sile intoned, the Galactic Council has reviewed your actions. Your decision to endanger your squad, harbor predator offspring, and interfere with Dravari patterns constitutes dereliction of duty and violation of Council directives. The soldiers stiffened around her. Kara stood straight, her face calm but her pulse hammering. Sile's eyes narrowed. Effective immediately, you are stripped of rank, pending tribunal. Until such time, you are to be detained under Council custody. Gasps rippled. Private Lian muttered, Detained? For saving lives? Dren's jaw tightened. He didn't speak, but his fists curled. Kara raised her chin. Admiral, if saving children is a crime, then brand me guilty. But don't pretend this is about protocol. This is about fear. Sile's feathers flared. Fear is wisdom. Fear preserves civilization. You, human, mistake recklessness for nobility. You endanger us all with your defiance. Kara's voice got sharper. And you mistake cruelty for order. The Council preaches civilization while letting fire consume the helpless. If that's your wisdom, Admiral, I'll take humanity's recklessness every time. The holo crackled with Sile's fury. You will regret that arrogance. Humanity will regret it. Then the signal cut, leaving the camp heavy with silence. The soldiers didn't move for several breaths. Finally, Dren barked. All right, you heard it. Until tribunal, Lieutenant Wei is to be confined. Nobody touches her without my order. Kara expected anger, maybe resistance. What she didn't expect was the look in their eyes. Not Hishkene. Kara's gaze hardened. Because someone has to. Because if we don't draw a line, then the Council keeps deciding who lives and who dies until compassion is extinct. If we don't stand for something, Dren, what are we even fighting for? For once, Dren had no answer. He stared at her, jaw clenched, then shook his head. You're impossible. He stood abruptly and left. But he hadn't called her wrong. The attack came in the darkest hour before dawn. The motion alarms screamed. Soldiers scrambled awake, grabbing rifles. Kara jolted upright as the tent shook from an impact outside. Through the flap, she saw them. Sleek figures slipping through the smoke, armor black as obsidian. Council enforcers, Not here to wait for a tribunal, here to end it. Panic erupted in the camp. Blaster fire cracked. Soldiers shouted. Enforcers cut through the defenses like blades through paper. Dren burst into the tent, eyes blazing. They're not here for capture. They're here to erase this whole mess. Kara stood, restraints glowing around her wrists. Then get these off me! He hesitated, torn. Then, with a curse, he pulled his knife and slashed the bindings. Sparks spat and Kara's wrists came free. She grabbed her rifle from the rack. If they want war, let's give them hell. The camp became chaos. Enforcers moved with precision, cutting down defenses. Kara and Dren fought side by side, rifles blazing, forcing gaps in the encroaching line. Soldiers rallied, fear burning into fury. But even as they pushed back, Kara knew they couldn't win. Not against the Council's chosen blades. Then the forest roared. The sound shook the ground itself. Trees splintered. Shapes burst from the shadows. Massive, spined, feral. The Dravari predators. The parents. The cubs, larger already, scrambling at their heels. The enforcers froze, their sleek confidence breaking for the first time. The predators struck like storms. One enforcer vanished under a beast's jaws. Another was hurled into a tree, armor crumpling. Chaos consumed order. And in the middle of it, Kara saw the truth. The predators weren't attacking the humans. They were tearing through the enforcers with feral precision. The largest predator turned its massive head, eyes locking with Kara's across the firelit clearing. For a heartbeat, the world stilled. She had carried its cubs from fire. Now, it carried war to her enemies. By dawn, the enforcers lay broken, their sleek armor littering the ground. The predators vanished back into the forest, their roars fading like thunder. The camp was in ruins, but alive. Soldiers moved among the wreckage, stunned, whispering. Kara stood with her rifle slung, soot on her face, eyes sharp. The Council had branded her reckless traitor criminal. But the predators had chosen her. And in that choice, the galaxy's balance had shifted. The ash fell like black snow, coating Marcus's hair and the 5 cubs clinging to him. His lungs burned, but his steps never faltered as he emerged from the inferno of the den. Behind him, the predator firestorm raged, consuming generations of tribal sanctuaries. Before him, an army of alien soldiers froze in disbelief. The crowd of Velari warriors, armored in jagged plates, parted. Their leader, General Kor, stepped forward. His mandibles twitched in outrage. "You dare!" Kor hissed, voice vibrating with fury. "Those cubs are the last of the Fireclaw line. They belong to the Dominion. To us!" Marcus shifted his stance, the smallest cub pressed tightly against his chest. Belong? They were trapped in there, screaming for help while your army set the flames. If you want them, you'll have to step over me. The soldiers stirred, claws flexing. But something strange pulsed in the air, an unspoken hesitation. The predators in the army could smell it. Courage, defiance, the same aura their own ancestors once carried. One of the cubs growled, a sound too raw and fierce for its size. It startled even Kor. Marcus smirked. "Hear that? They've already made their choice." Kor's voice sharpened like a blade. "You're a fool, human. Saving them won't change their nature. When they grow, they will kill you." "Maybe," Marcus said, adjusting the bundle of clothes and fur in his arms. "But they'll also remember who carried them out of fire when their own people left them to burn." The standoff thickened. The Velari soldiers' eyes darted between Marcus and their general. The cubs wriggled, pressing closer against the human who refused to let them fall. Smoke smeared across his face, his uniform torn and bloodied, but his arms didn't tremble. And that image, a single human walking through fire with 5 predator cubs, seared itself into the minds of every soldier present. "Kor Raizaes," said his blade. "Kill him!" The order cracked like thunder. Yet, no one moved. One soldier muttered, "General, the cubs." Another rasped, "They cling to him. The fire accepts him." The hesitation deepened. Kor bared his teeth, furious at their faltering discipline. "He is just a human!" Marcus's eyes locked with his. "No, I'm the proof that humanity doesn't fear fire, predators, or tyrants like you." The cubs, as if sensing the tension, released a unified cry, a sharp, defiant roar that echoed across the battlefield. Small, yes, but it carried the memory of an ancient predator race. The Velari army recoiled, some even stepping back. Kor's authority cracked under the weight of that sound. And in that heartbeat, Marcus made his move. He strode forward, shoulders squared, walking straight past the stunned soldiers. None dared strike. The cubs hissed at anyone who stepped too close, their tiny fangs bared. By the time Kor found his voice again, Marcus had already vanished into the smoke-filled horizon. Far away, beneath the shadows of burnt trees, Marcus collapsed to his knees. He laid the cubs gently in the grass. They circled him, pressing their foreheads against his hands and chest. He whispered, voice hoarse, "Guess you're stuck with me now." A faint laugh escaped him despite his exhaustion. He had no idea how to raise predator cubs, no plan for feeding them, no understanding of the Fireclaw bloodline. But none of that mattered. Humanity had always been at its best when faced with the impossible. And across the stars, stories would spread like wildfire. Not of Velari conquest, not of dominion power, but of a lone human who walked out of fire carrying 5 predator cubs in his arms. The image would become a warning and a legend. Because in that moment, the galaxy learned. Humans don't run from burning dens. They walk through them, and they come out carrying the future. Till the end. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the Void Narratives. More tales of humanity's defiance await.